In this video we'll be demonstrating the Parameter and Property Alter tool by 3D Solutions. I just have an assembly open with some different components in here. We'll go ahead and launch the form. What this tool allows you to do is it allows you to go in individually into single components, or to do entire folders or entire catalogs for that matter. Parameter and property management, so you can go in and rename parameters if you have a name change to one of your parameters and you want to do it in all your blocks. This will do it very quickly. You can also go in and add additional new parameters or remove parameters that you no longer need in your blocks, and you can do this en masse to an entire job or to your entire catalog. Lastly, here we have the option to add from Excel, so we can go in and take a block with no attributes, no parameters or properties in it, and we can add in from an Excel sheet a whole list of parameters where it will create the parameter, create the property, and link the two together. You do have the option to do single value or multiple value parameters. You can see here we can select different types of parameters that we want to add and put the name of the parameter in here. Last section down here at the bottom is just showing you the parts that it's going to apply the changes to. So we can select a part out of a folder and we can check this apply to all parts in the folder, and that will do an entire folder of components. Or we can select part from session, which is what we'll do here next. We'll just add a few of these parts in. You have your run button, which will actually apply the changes. Exit is obvious, and then if you happen to mispick an item, you can do remove selected items from the list, or if you have some items within your directory that you don't want to add these changes to, you can remove them individually once the list is created here. So we'll start off by doing something simple. I'll just expand a couple of these blocks here and show you what we have. We have standard parameters in all our blocks, so regardless of whether you use our blocks or not, you can utilize this tool. But we have a detail number, for example, here. So if we wanted to go in and change every block in a job from detail number to, say, for example, your customer maybe has a requirement that their parameter be called DETNO, like this. We select change there, and then we'll just select a couple of the parts from the session here. So we'll pick these top two as an example, and I'll just go ahead and click my finish button here. You can see that added the files to the list down here. We have our change checked right here, so all we need to do is hit run. So when we select run on this, what it will do is go in and adjust the names of those parameters. You can see over here in the tree now we have DETNO, and if we look at the properties of these blocks, you'll notice that the property name is also changed as well. So that's what will stock list now, which is typically what your customers will need if they need you to make modifications like this. So changing is very easy. You can do 2 details at a time. There's 2 fields here, so you can do 2 at a time. If you happen to have 6 or 8 that need to change, you might have to run through it a few times, but as you can see, it goes really quick. Adding and removing parameters, we'll drop down here and we're just going to add a new parameter. We'll call it new parameter. We can do of type string. If we want to put in a value here, we'll put in a test value, and then we'll go ahead and just run this on these same 2 parts that we have here. So we'll run that, and now what we'll see is over here in the tree now we have this new parameter with the value of test. Again, looking at the properties, you'll also see it added it into the properties as well. So that's adding if you have a single value parameter. Let's say, for example, we wanted to add in, let's do like an integer parameter. And we'll call this new parameter 2. And I'm just going to wiggle the handle here to clear our list. So let's add 4 values in there, and I'm just typing the number and hitting enter, and you see it adds it to the list here. So we're going to add a new parameter 2 of type integer, and with these 4 values in here. We'll run that on the same 2 components. When we do that, you'll see our new parameter 2 over here in the tree, and if we select on that parameter, you'll notice it has a drop-down value for each of the values. So this is a very useful management tool if you're managing a catalog system, but also if your customer has specific requirements in their CATIA models. Last thing I'm going to show here is the add from Excel. This would be a situation where if you had a block that had no attributes, which we have one here in the assembly. It's just an empty part. You can see no parameters or properties in the part. I'm going to remove these items from the list down here, and we'll go in here and we'll say we want to add from Excel. Once you check that box, you can pick a sample if you want to see how your Excel sheet should be formatted. Shows you a parameter name, the value separated by a semicolon, and then the parameter type. So those are the only 3 fields you need to have filled out in the A, B, and C column, starting at row 1 and working your way down. So we'll hit import from a list, and I'm going to path this to a location. We have some parameters for 3D Solutions, our standard parameters. And when I do that, you may or may not get an Excel sheet that will pop up on the screen. If you do, that's okay. You just leave that up there. Once that comes up, though, we'll select the parts that we want to add these to. So I'll pick on our empty part, and then we'll go ahead and say let's run that. Let you know it's been completed. If we take a look over at our part here now, we can see we have our basic parameters: job number, detail, part, material, and notes. And if we look at the properties, those same values are here, and any changes we make here will be linked to the property here as well. So that way you can very quickly attribute blocks. If you're downloading a block, for example, and you need to bring in some attributes, this is a tool that you can utilize to do that. And that concludes the video on how to use the parameter and property editor.